I would like to thank the committee for selecting me into the 2023 class of the Alabama Sports Officials Hall of Fame. It is a tremendous honor to join both my brother Rusty and father Ronnie, and it's a privilege to be in this great class. Congratulations to all the inductees. I grew up in a house with a father who officiated, so easy to say that my parents had a big impact on my life and officiating career. My mom, Marie Baines, served as a great example of an official's wife and showed how life could be normal with a husband and father on the road every weekend. I could not be more thankful for my wife, Christy. She was a single mom on the weekends with our 2 young kids while I was on the road for sometimes 30-plus weekends a year. In 2006, I was in Germany working NFL Europe while she literally moved our family from Auburn to Birmingham with our 7-month-old daughter, Mary Carlton. When our son Mason was born in 2008, she brought him home from the hospital while I was in Atlanta officiating an arena game. To our kids, I've had to miss many of your games and events through the years, and hopefully I've paid you back with some cool trips and experiences. I have so many great officials that have helped me along the way. I wouldn't be where I am today without the influence of my father, Ronnie Baines. From the beginning, he taught me 15 minutes early is on time and on time is late, and carry yourself in a professional manner on and off the field. I also appreciated the feedback following my games, even though they may have not always been the most positive. I knew he was only trying to make me a better official. Randall Beasley was my first referee, and he helped me learn the high school game and got me on his crew when Arena 2 started in Birmingham. In college, I worked in Conference USA for Gerald Austin. Under Gerald Austin, I learned how to get the big ones, and don't worry if you upset a player or coach. I worked on Bill Lamonier's crew in arena football for years. Bill taught a young, excitable official how to calm down in intense situations. Carl Cheffers was my referee in NFL Europe and taught me how to learn the rules and work the side judge position at the professional level. I was fortunate to have Tony Carini as my referee for the first 5 years of my NFL career. Tony was a natural teacher that helped through the growing pains of being a rookie in the NFL. I first met John Hussey in NFL Europe. We instantly became friends. I've been fortunate to share the NFL field with him for 11 of my 16 years. John has always been one of my biggest supporters, and I can't thank him enough for our friendship. These officials have been with me through many great moments on the field, but working with my brothers and dad at a UAB spring game years ago was still my favorite moment. It was one of the few times I was on the field with my dad and brother Mark. I've had NFL friends grade Mark's games and have told me he is much better than Rusty and me. I can't argue with them. Rusty and I were fortunate to work several games together, including the last Blue-Gray All-Star game. Watching from home, our dad was worried that 2 brothers were going to get in a fist fight on the field if we didn't agree on a call. We had a tight catch that game, and luckily we agreed on the ruling and got it right. No brotherly fistfights on ESPN that day. In the intense environment we work in, you learn to enjoy the fun times and you learn from the tough times the game gives you. Officiating is the best way to stay in the competition of the game and meet some of the best friends you will ever have. They will be with you through your lifetime, well past the last whistle. I would also encourage officials starting today to be present where you are. Don't get caught up with what others are doing or where they are working. Just focus on being the best version of yourself and enjoy the game at any level you're working. Also, give back to others the way these officials have helped me. I hope I am able to impact somebody else's career the way these people have helped me get to this Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Jeff Brewer. I'm Greg's brother. Although our hearts are heavy knowing Greg is not here with us tonight, his family and I consider it truly a blessing to be here and accept this tremendous honor on his behalf. Before he passed away last September, he often spoke of how proud he was of this foundation and of the great things being done through it to support sports officiating and sports officials throughout the state of Alabama. I know he would be incredibly thankful and proud to accept a spot in this Hall of Fame alongside this group of outstanding individuals. As many of you know, Greg's selection into this Hall of Fame was not based on his officiating prowess, but rather on the contributions he made to the field of sports officiating and the countless officials he mentored throughout his career. That being said, he did serve from 1976 to 1992 as an AHSAA contest official for baseball, basketball, and football. His career in sports officiating began as a young teenager on the youth baseball fields in Florence, Alabama. And as I'm sure was true with all of you, it was not always smooth sailing. One of our family's favorite stories to tell and laugh about is when Greg was chased around the field and into the concession stand by a crazed mom with a bat following a particularly contentious game. For any young officials out there thinking that crazy parents are something new, well, think again. They've been around for a long time. Thankfully, for sports officials across our state and even across the country, this incident didn't deter Greg from pursuing his passion. Throughout Greg's career, there were many individuals who had a positive influence on him and instilled in him a love for and dedication to sports officiating. But he often spoke of one person in particular to whom he owed a great debt, Bubba Scott, the AHSAA Executive Director who gave a young guy named Greg Brewer an opportunity to join the organization that would become not only his career, but his life. Greg's accomplishments are extensive and far-reaching, but while his impact on the art and discipline of sports officiating is remarkable, what mattered most to him were the people, the officials, and the athletes. If you knew Greg, you know he loved his officials and did everything in his power to help them be successful in their officiating careers. But I believe if he were standing here tonight, he would tell each of you, especially any young officials that are just getting started, that even though knowing the rules and getting the mechanics right are important, never forget that the most important metric of success is the measure of your influence and impact on the young men and women you serve every time you step onto that court or field. Thank you to the Alabama Sports Officials Foundation Board for honoring Greg with his induction into the Alabama Sports Officials Hall of Fame. He loved you all and enjoyed working with you and cherished your friendships more than you'll ever know. Thank you.
It's quite an honor to be nominated and be inducted into the Alabama Sports Officials Hall of Fame. It was quite a surprise when I found out because you never really dream when you're an official of being nominated, much less inducted into a Hall of Fame. The late Erskine Payne, who brought Babe Ruth baseball to Huntsville in the late 1950s or early 1960s, took me under his wing and I started going to Babe Ruth regional tournaments in the early 1990s. He saw something in me that I didn't realize was there, and he brought me along slowly until he thought I was ready to run my own tournament. I will always be indebted to him. I was already a high school coach when I began officiating baseball. I had officiated both soccer and basketball and figured baseball would be something to do. Being an official helped me as a coach and vice versa because you have to listen to both sides of every call. It also helped me deal with my players and eventually with players in each sport that I officiated. My favorite moment of officiating came in the Alabama State Championships in 2010. It was my third state championship series, but it was the first one that I got a plate. The game was exciting and fast, and I believe it was a two-way game. It only lasted about an hour and a half, but I can't describe the feeling afterwards that I've done a good job and received the congratulations from the other umpires and my crew and the evaluators. The most intense call I believe I ever had was at the second round game in 2010 between Guntersville and Jacksonville. It was the third game in the bottom of the sixth inning of a tie game, when a field official mistakenly made a call that was my call. As both coaches came out of the dugout toward me, I called time, told both of them that I had it and got my official and walked toward the mound. I called in to ask him why he had made the call. He did, and he said he didn't know. I told him I would fix it. As I walked back to the plate, I called both coaches to the plate and explained that it was my call and that the runner had tagged properly at third and scored, and that we were going to play from that point forward. Of course, one coach was happy and one coach was irate. We finished the game as this was the winning run, and we were promptly booed all the way down the left field line to where we were dressing. It was intense, but it was the right call. Officiating teaches you patience. You have to slow down to see the play, and you have to know the situation for every play. We have a need for more officials because the officials that are my age are retiring faster than we can train new officials. I would tell any new official that don't worry about making mistakes because you're going to make mistakes. It's correcting the mistakes that will make you a better official. Listen to the older officials that have been around and learn from them because they've seen things that you'll never see. Rules may have changed since you last played ball. Learn the rules. You could have a great time calling baseball or any sport. People that helped me when I was younger include the late Erskine Payne, Ears Martin, Mo Price, Roosevelt Love, and Larry Coburn. Present-day officials like Marshall Young, Mark Werwine, the late Benny Woodall, Marty Clifford, Jason Lively, and Donnie Bell also influenced me greatly. I tried to learn something from every official that I called with, and I tried to teach some of the younger officials things that I had learned that would make the game go easier for them. I would especially like to thank my family, my daughters and grandkids that are here in the audience tonight for supporting me. Sometimes my daughters would have to leave a game because they'd be so angry at people that were yelling at me, but they were afraid they might say something to these people. Once again, I am humbled and honored to accept this award. Thank you.
First of all, I wanted to thank my family, my son Kevin, and my daughter Kimberly, and I'd also like to especially thank my wife Karen for allowing me the time to pursue the opportunity to officiate football, basketball, and baseball. I am so thankful for their commitment in supporting me all of these years. As we all know, it takes a lot of time and commitment to go to meetings, training camps, association meetings, and games, so having a supportive family makes officiating much more enjoyable. Next, I'd like to thank the good Lord above for providing me good health and safe travels all these years, and for giving me the wisdom to manage games fairly and within the intent of the rules. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for their confidence in selecting me to become a member of this prestigious group. It is certainly a humbling experience to be considered for this honor and to be included with those already inducted and the other inductees in the class of 2023. From the bottom of my heart, I truly appreciate this honor. I'd also like to thank the Alabama High School Athletic Association for the great job they do in managing the day-to-day activities for all the sports in all the schools throughout the state to ensure there's a competitive balance for each participant. For me, the Alabama High School Athletic Association leadership goes back to the days of Herman, Bubba Scott, Dan Washburn, and Steve Savarese. And though no longer with us, I'd like to also thank Greg Brewer for his positive influence on my career. I'd like to thank our local district director, Robert Lose, for his leadership and his confidence in me over the years. I would also like to thank the local associations in the Mobile and Baldwin County area and all the men and women to whom I've had the pleasure to officiate with. Each of you have been instrumental in influencing my career, whether officiating football or basketball or umpiring baseball. I'm especially thankful for the leadership in all the associations in the Mobile area and for leaders of all the associations throughout the state. Having served in several officer positions in my local association and as a board member and board chairman, I know what kind of time it takes to serve in a leadership role in your association. I'm also thankful for my dad, who was instrumental in getting me involved in sports officiating. As I reflect on my career, I think of all the changes. Heck, my first year officiating football, we were still using a red penalty flag. I think it was 1974 when we moved to the yellow hanky. Obviously, the game has changed over the years from the days of third down in a cloud of dust to the wide open offenses of today's game. Even though I think we agree the game has changed, as has officiating, the reality is officiating is still about knowing the rules and mechanics, being fair and consistent in your judgment, hustle, and appearance. In my opinion, the thing that's changed most about officiating is there's more opportunity, more games, more camps, more training. I think back to my early career watching the great Jimmy Harper officiating SEC games and wondering, how do I get to that level? But heck, nobody knew. Now there's a track you can follow if you have the desire and commitment to move to the college or professional level. As officials, we have those crazy moments. Some of them are great, some are not so great, some are funny, some are not so funny. But I like to think my career has created more greater and fun moments for the teams, players, and coaches. Even though my career as a basketball, baseball, and football official has had many memorable experiences, the highlight of my career is about two things. First of all, it's about the other men and women whom I've had the pleasure to officiate with. The brotherhood and sisterhood among officials is like none other. To be on the field or court with your officiating partners, knowing that all of you are going to do the best job you can do for the players involved in the contest. And my career is about many great players that I've had the opportunity to officiate for. There are way too many to mention individually, and most have gone on to play successful college and professional careers. To see those players develop from a budding high school freshman to a rewarding, successful career has been special to me. In closing, for those of you who may still be officiating, or for those who might be beginning your career, I'd like to mention a few things that have helped me with my career. I truly believe these were true in 1972, and they're still true today. First of all, find a mentor or be a mentor to someone else. Help recruit new officials and umpires. Look sharp when you walk on the field or court. Know the rules and mechanics of your sport. Be confident but not cocky. Be approachable but don't be influenceable. Remember, you represent a special brotherhood both on and off the field, so don't criticize your other officials. Again, thanks to my family for believing in me, and thanks to the Hall of Fame committee for this truly humbling honor.
My love for officiating began with my love for basketball, which started when I was a young guy in Demopolis and continued with my coach at U.S. Jones High School, Coach Clarence Popcorn Blackman. After high school, I attended Western Michigan University. My junior year, I took a sports officiating class where I met a gentleman named Ron Winter. Ron selected me to officiate the fraternity basketball tournament finals. That started my interest in officiating basketball. Ron became a Big Ten football and basketball official and a referee in the NFL. I moved to Montgomery in 1975 and met Mike Hunt, who was with Mid-State Basketball and Football Officials Association, and that began my basketball officiating career. We had a lot of great officials like Bobby Abbott, George Evans, who we recently lost, Joe Summerlin, Lem Jones, and Bobby Askew. I went to all the weekly meetings and listened to those guys, and went to their games and watched them work. I strongly advise young officials today to do the same. There were great officials like Mike Hunt, Shelby Crawford, John Mabry, and John Robertson that worked in both sports. The two most critical people to my advancement in both sports were Johnny and a lesser-known basketball official named Sam Jeter. Johnny was responsible for my first opportunity to work in the state basketball tournament. He called me at work one morning and told me the state needed an official at Fair Park in Birmingham that day at 5 o'clock to work the game between Park and Tuskegee. Mr. McCaslin from the state office called me and told me to be at Fair Park by 3 o'clock and find the tournament director, Sam Short. I was a Peckerwood when he greeted me and an all right Peckerwood from then on. I didn't know what a Peckerwood was, but he was smiling when he said it. Sam Jeter was a mid-state basketball official that worked the women's side of the SIAC. He talked to me about applying to the conference. I did and got accepted. Mr. Tweet Williams was the supervisor of officials for both basketball and football. I applied for football and got accepted. It was in the SIAC I met three gentlemen that would have a profound effect on my football officiating career. The effervescent Dr. W.J. May, the charismatic Richard Drake, and the self-proclaimed best tailback in Tuskegee University history, Alvin Washington. The three of them brought me into their crew, and we remain friends today. Richard was also with the Gulf South and got me to apply to them. I was accepted, and 3 years later, I applied to the Southeastern Conference. 2 to 3 years after that, I got a call from none other than Johnny Robertson, who had heard the SEC would be hiring new officials that year, and he advised me to update my application. I did and got accepted into the conference that year. When the call came from Mr. Gaston, I was in the kitchen warming a bottle of milk for my daughter, who I was also holding at the time. I almost dropped her. In the meantime, basketball was going great. I had gone to several Division I camps but never got picked up. The Lord knew. With all that being said, the ride continues and the friendships continue to grow. It is an honor and a privilege to have my name uttered among such an elite group of individuals. I am humbled. My hat's off to Greg Brewer, another great guy we lost, for getting this whole thing started.
Please allow me to congratulate the members of the 2023 class, Alabama Sports Officials Hall of Fame. It is indeed an honor to be included with such a distinguished group of professionals. I'd be remiss if I didn't start by acknowledging the late Greg Brewer for his work in bringing Alabama officiating into the 21st century, as well as bringing his vision of having a Sports Officials Hall of Fame to life. Additionally, Mark Jones and this committee should be applauded for picking up the baton and running with it to ensure Greg's legacy wouldn't be lost in time. Finally, I'd like to thank Mr. Dan Washburn, who always had kind and encouraging words for me, and through his leadership, brought the Alabama High School Athletic Association to national prominence. I wouldn't be here today without the help and guidance of the following people. James Crawford, who for whatever reason thought I would make a serviceable basketball official. Elsie Johnson, who taught me the importance of attention to detail and professionalism. Curtis Harris, who was like Drew Bundini Brown, who kept telling Ali he was the greatest. Curtis never stopped telling me how good I was. Fortunately for me, I never believed him. Mike Murphy, Don Stanford, the late Sam Short, Bill Galden, Stuart Stevenson, Pat Martin, Bobby Rogers, and my friend George Evans, who sadly passed away a few hours after I finished writing this. Great friends are hard to find, difficult to leave, and impossible to forget. The following people fall into that category. My wingman, Dana Wallace, Willie Moore, Mike McCray, Jason Jones, Wanda Leonard, Don Hudson, Pete Lilio, Sharon Russell, Willie Wiggins, Alan Cosby, Janice Jordan, Johnny Robertson, Marius Dockery, Mike Newman, Henry Nixon, Faye Wilson, Kathy White, Ken Marbury, Brian McCullum, Walter Garrett, Eddie Gray, Gary McGriff, and fellow inductee Nancy Price. Without officiating, there would be a huge gap in my journey because of the absence of these people and others. To those not mentioned here, you are not forgotten. I just used up my time. I have several humor stories to tell. Some involve people in attendance tonight and will likely get someone in trouble. So I'll tell one that made me laugh out loud on the court. The late Ed Murphy was once the head basketball coach at Ole Miss and later at the University of West Georgia, where he retired there as athletic director. One evening, while working at one of their road games, I made a 3-second call that had Coach Murphy up and hollering. I hated 3-second calls, especially in a game that had good flow. I made 2 or 3 trips up and down the court, and Coach was still up complaining. So I said, Coach, I counted to 13. Coach Murphy responded, well, where were you when I was at Ole Miss and Shaq was at LSU? The laughter lasted even during timeouts. There's no greater honor than to be recognized by your peers, and for this, I'm eternally grateful. My advice to young officials, what you do is important and should be treated as such. Learn the rules, but more importantly, how to apply them. Become a manager of the game, learn to put out fires, not pour gas on them. Something I never thought of when I started this journey was how would I like to be remembered. May I suggest that this be your motivation. Every night you wear the uniform, consider how do you want to be remembered. Enjoy the ride. And again, thank you, and may God continue to bless each and every one of you.
My name is Becky Strickland, and I am the youngest daughter of Coach William Billy Henderson, who passed away in 2013, but whose memory is being honored tonight by his selection to this Hall of Fame. Sometimes in our lives, honors and accolades come to us and we do not feel we deserve them, but this is not the case for Daddy's selection to this Hall of Fame. For almost 60 years, thousands of miles driven, countless hours spent away from home, and many drops of sweat shed, he umpired baseball and officiated football and basketball. He was born 100 years ago this month to a large family in Grove Hill, Alabama. So poor were they that he said you could see the dirt through the cracks in the floor. In his parents' quest for more job opportunities during the Depression, they moved to Tuscaloosa in 1928. As fate would have it, their house on the edge of the University of Alabama campus was within a mile or mile and a half of four places that would forever be a part of his life. Those were the University of Alabama practice field, where later in life he would officiate Alabama football practices under the watchful eyes of coaches Bryant, Perkins, Curry, and Stallings; Foster Auditorium, where at 18 years of age he would begin his officiating career at the state basketball tournament when most of the regular officials had enlisted during World War II. The third place was Denny Stadium, now Bryant-Denny, where his Tuscaloosa High School football team would play, and he would officiate other games, most notably the high school all-star games. The fourth place was Tuscaloosa High School, where he was a three-sport star, as he also was at the Citadel and in the service leagues, and he later coached and taught there. No matter which sport he was umpiring or refereeing or the money earned to support our family of six, his commitment to the job and to support us required him to miss many family occasions. I'm not sure that Daddy ever saw my brother play a Friday night or Saturday football game because of his own referee commitments. Before SEC officials had to be on their game site a day early, he often left after coaching on Friday night to reach his assignment for the next day. The reverse was also true, as many a night after his Saturday game he would hit the road and get home in the wee hours of the morning. Worry was never far away when he was on those dark roads, and if he was later than expected getting in from a road trip or an airplane ride, we just had to wait it out and pray that he was okay. There are some great memories for us as a result of his refereeing. Seeing him on television doing a game was always exciting. As a result of his doing Alabama practices, Daddy got a .315 ring, and he and my mother went with the team to the 1990 Fiesta Bowl and the 1992 championship in New Orleans. He also got to visit many places as he refereed and be a part of such bowl games as the Sugar, Gator, Sun, Fiesta, Peach, and Senior. Daddy was always in pursuit of being the best umpiring official he could be, and he wanted that for others. In his book about people of note in Tuscaloosa, Delbert Reed wrote that Daddy would on occasion during a game offer a subtle suggestion or rule clarification to a player. Greg Kosloff, one of the younger people he mentored as an umpiring official, once asked another member of their officiating crew why Daddy was so hard on him. The other man replied, "Because he cares and sees your potential." Nothing made Daddy sadder than to know a player or person with potential had no desire or dedication to use it. His commitment to fairness in the game was notable. Early in his SEC career, he refereed a game in Rupp Arena. During that game, a call he made did not sit well with the infamous Adolph Rupp, as it did not favor his Big Blue. Shortly after this incident, Coach Rupp struck Daddy as an official he would allow to do his games. Sylvester Croom, one of his former players, said that his presence and sense of fairness served to bring calm to an otherwise stressful situation in the early days of public school integration in Tuscaloosa. Another example of Daddy's commitment to the job was when he was scheduled to work a game in Gainesville, Florida. He woke up ill and literally had to crawl to the bathroom. But to make it to the game on time, he got my sister Jan to drive him to Eufaula, where our other sister and her husband lived. In Eufaula, he got my brother-in-law to drive him the rest of the way. Daddy certainly could display a little showmanship and humor as he umpired or officiated games. At the height of the Civil Rights Movement and before the Tuscaloosa schools were fully integrated, he was assigned a game at the then all-black Druid High School. The gym was packed that night, and the first time he blew his whistle, you could hear a pin drop. He pointed to the player, called out his number, and said, "Traveling," without a suitcase. The crowd roared, and he had them behind him. I myself was set up by that humor after I complained about a call made by Harold Red Johnson, another SEC official. As we were eating breakfast after a doubleheader in Jackson, Mississippi, where Alabama played one game and Daddy officiated the other, I felt a tap on my shoulder. When I turned around, Mr. Johnson asked me if I had something I needed to say to him. In several articles where Daddy was interviewed, he was asked why he umpired and refereed so long. His reply was always that he felt he owed back to sports what it had given to him. Through participation in sports, he said he had been blessed with a wealth of sweet memories, a chance to get a good education, and to earn a decent living. Again, I would like to thank the Hall of Fame for this honor and to leave you with a quote from a person named Alex Morgan that I know Daddy would have agreed with. Always work hard, never give up, and fight until the end, because it's never really over until the whistle blows.
When I graduated from Auburn, I started a data processing company in Gadsden. I had a large IBM computer and 25 key punch girls. We were running 2 8-hour shifts every day. At some point, I just got tired of working so much, so I bought a tennis racket. After playing tennis for a while, I ended up marrying a tennis pro at the Gadsden Tennis Complex. In order for her to be able to hold sanctioned junior tennis tournaments in Alabama, she had to have a certified referee. I had to go to Birmingham once a year and take a one-day course to become a referee. My duties were to stand by the net trying to teach 2 12-year-old girls how to keep score while they hit moonballs. I was also in charge of breaking up fights. The third year I went to Birmingham for my one-day class, the lady teaching the class, Woody Sublett, was in charge of all the tennis officials in the United States. She invited me to come to Indianapolis in 1985 to be a linesman at the U.S. Clay Court Championships. I went to Indy, got my striped shirt, and became a linesman. 1985 was the year that Boris won his first Wimbledon at 17 years of age. Boris came to Indy to play the week after Wimbledon. She put me on serve, and I thought, what am I doing here? Boris was serving over 100 miles an hour. I was seeing about 1 out of every 3 shots. After the tournament, I asked Woody Sublett if I could go to the U.S. Open, and she said, no, you've just worked one tournament. She did invite me to the U.S. Open the next year, 1986, as a linesman. In 1987, she started letting me do a couple of chairs. She sent me out to Court 25 to chair a juniors match between 2 17-year-old juniors, Pete Sampras and Michael Chang. 2 years later at the Open, 1989, she let me do the men's finals between Yvonne Lendl and Boris Becker. I was thinking, have you lost your mind? It was the biggest match in U.S. tennis. It lasted 4 hours, 45 minutes, 4-set match, Becker won. 25,000 fans in the stands and 75 million people watching on CBS. We had no electronics, just the best 10 linesmen in the world. So between 86 and 89, I worked a lot of tournaments around the United States. I was the referee for all of Auburn's home tennis matches, worked the NCAA men's finals in Athens, worked a lot of women's tournaments with Chris Everett, Martina Navratilova, Steffi Graf, Gabriela Sabatini. So by the time I got to the U.S. Open men's finals, I had quite a bit of experience. 3 months after the '89 U.S. Open, in January of '90, the men's tennis players started their own tour, the ATP Tour located in Ponte Vedra, Florida. The tour hired myself and 7 other chair umpires from all around the world. It was the first time that there were full-time officials. Also in '90, I started writing a computer program for the first ever handheld 11-ounce palm unit. It captured every stat for every tennis match. In January of 1991, we went live, and every men's professional tennis match in the world used my palm unit. We traveled hundreds of thousands of miles around the world each year. Every week, we had 3 different tournaments going on somewhere in the world. We all worked at 4 Grand Slams, U.S. Open, Wimbledon, French Open, and Australian Open. I've officiated in 31 different countries, doing tennis in 10 different languages: Portuguese, Spanish, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Mandarin, Hebrew, Russian, and English. Every tournament started on Monday and ended on Sunday. The following Monday morning, we were in a different country. While doing a match in Frankfurt, there was a ball boy at the base of my chair, and he was holding 2 tennis balls. I said some phrase in German. He threw the 2 balls to the ground as hard as he could. To this day, I'm still not sure what I said. I officiated hundreds of matches for John McEnroe, Jimmy Connors, Yvonne Lendl, Andre Agassi, Boris Becker. I took a leave of absence at the end of 1998 to stay at home and raise my new son, Dalton. I never went back, although I did officiate a lot of senior matches around the United States. This is my third Hall of Fame, and I can tell you, it never gets old. This is such an honor to be in the same room with officials from every sport. I would love to sit down with each of you to hear how you got started in officiating. So in closing, I never set out to be a tennis official. All I did was buy a tennis racket. But I can tell you that it changed my life in a very positive way. Thank you.
To the Alabama Sports Officiating Hall of Fame Committee, I would like to thank you for this great honor. I can assure you I never started officiating football with a type of honor like this in the back of my mind as the final goal. The love of the game and being around my crew is what I feel drove me to do the things I did in the game. I need to thank some people before I move forward with accepting this honor. First, my wife, Michelle. Michelle, none of this could have taken place without you. You're without a doubt the foundation that has allowed all of this to happen. You made sure that our boys were taken care of and our household never missed a beat while I traveled from venue to venue in the summer and the fall. My words will never be able to tell you how much I love you and thank you for standing by me during the great times and the tough times. My two sons, Will and Sam. Guys, thanks for understanding when Dad couldn't be there. I loved it every time that y'all got to go to the games with me, and I am so proud of both of you. Couldn't have asked for two better sons than y'all are. I love y'all more than life itself, and I hope y'all know that. To my coaches, Ken Walker and Bill Burgess, my high school head coach and my college head coach. Just one thank you for you guys. Thanks for making me tough. To Jim Blackwood for taking a chance on bringing a raw 26-year-old into the Southland Conference. Bobby Gaston, you're the greatest. You changed the Patrick family's life on that January day when you called and said, I'm bringing you into the Southeastern Conference. Thank you for your friendship, your mentoring, and many rounds of golf talking officiating at Setting Down Creek. Matt Austin and Steve Shaw, y'all were by far the two greatest white hats I could have ever worked for. Also, thank you for your great friendship. Ronnie Baines, thank you for everything you did getting me to the NFL. You and me both know there were challenges there. Last, but by no means not least, my dad, Bob Patrick. Dad, you're the greatest. You've been my hero since I was old enough to remember. You've been an awesome example in all aspects of my life. It is truly an honor to share this distinction with you. Thanks for being there for me every single day of my life. The memories created through the great game of football are so many. There's the Bluegrass Miracle, my rookie year in the SEC, the national championship game, Oklahoma versus Southern Cal, when my youngest son, Sam, was born a week prior. And yes, Steve Shaw, you pressured me to hurry up and get to Miami for the kickoff. The kick six, perhaps the greatest play in college football history. Aaron Rodgers' Hail Mary versus Eli Manning just before halftime in the playoffs at Lambeau Field in January on the frozen tundra, working for the first time with the legend, Ed Hockley. All of these were great memories, but most of all, it's the relationships that will last a lifetime that the public will never understand. Those memories are what will be remembered by me. In closing, thanks to my family and friends in attendance tonight as I accept this honor, knowing without all of y'all, this award would not be possible. Also, what an honor to join the best of the best in officiating of all sports by being voted into the Alabama Sports Officiating Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Good evening. I stand before you today with nervousness, yet overwhelmed and humbled, as this is the highest honor an official in the state of Alabama can achieve. I've struggled with this speech because over my 44-year vocation as a sports official, there have been so many people that have helped me achieve this honor, and it would be impossible to name them all. So I'll name just a few and thank the rest personally. The love for officiating and giving back to the youth in the game developed at the early age of 10, as I would accompany my uncle to his games, which would include getting to go back into the locker rooms to meet the players and coaches. There it was, the spark was lit. My journey began as a 19-year-old refereeing Little League Baseball and intramural basketball. I moved to Alabama in 1977, where I met Greg England, Rusty Riley, and Eddie Welch, who took me under their wings, and the rest is history. The four of us have been lifelong friends as we raised our families and experienced the joys and heartbreaks of life together. In this chosen avocation, you become part of a family that includes coaches, players, partners, administrators, and fans. Many coaches have helped me along the way, most with constructive criticism and some with a zealous expression when a call didn't go their way. But today we are friends, understanding that we were both just doing our job. One coach I encountered as a young official was Owen Butts, a Hall of Famer himself, who scared the hell out of me in one of my first varsity basketball games and continues to scare the hell out of me as we umpire baseball games together. We have become close friends, sharing many moments on and off the court. And he was actually one of the people, along with Pat Coleman, who encouraged me to submit an application to the Hall of Fame and helped me with the process. You never know the kind of people who will impact you until you hear about how eloquently they have spoken on your behalf. Kim Keel is one of those people. I first met Kim refereeing her basketball games when she was coaching at Pelham High School. Kim had a habit of stomping her feet to get the attention of her players and our officials. One game I worked for her, she stomped her foot and broke the heel off her shoe. She looked at me, I laughed, and she smiled back. The game went on as she continued to coach barefoot, and I made sure not to step on her toes. While today Kim is a leader in the state as an administrator and the athletic director for Pelham High School, unbeknownst to me, Kim led the charge for my election, speaking to the committee in support of my nomination so pervasively. Thanks, Kim. You're my BFF. As an official, you meet many players, and over the years I have had the pleasure of officiating some of the best high school players in the state of Alabama, including Charles Barkley, Buck Johnson, Gerald Wallace, Bart Heitch, and most recently Miss Basketball, Renia Kelly, just to name a few. As an official, you learn that every game matters. That middle school game means as much to those kids and their parents as the varsity games do. So I try to talk to all of them to let them know that the officials are just like them, trying to do our best for this game. One of my greatest pleasures is to have a parent come up to me and say, I remember you. You officiated my games. And with a smile or a laugh, say, don't call any fouls on number 21. That's my son or daughter. Sometimes they shake my hand or give me a hug, and that's when I know my time as an official has not been wasted. I officiate 3 sports and have accompanied the court and field with so many partners. I can't remember them all. However, 2 of them are here today, Stan Dixon and Bob Harris, also be inducted into the Hall. There's one more guy here tonight who I've refereed over 500 games with over the last 25 years. My brother from another mother, Darren Howell. I first met Darren when he was a player in high school and I was refereeing his games. I remember seeing him take a shot that went through the rafters of West Jefferson High School and into the basket. But in those days, it was just a 2-pointer. Darren, thanks for all the memories and laughs. I've also been blessed by God with good health as get to referee with one of my sons, David, and my wife, Christine, refereeing together. I am truly blessed and thankful for this honor that comes with great responsibility. I will continue to support and mentor the next generation of officials and as an administrator in my basketball and volleyball associations. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Being nominated for the Hall of Fame was a huge surprise. While visiting Huntsville, Mo and I, had the good fortune to meet Greg Brewer and Craig Cleveland and Perry Butler at Bob Hamar's Grill, July 2021. At that meeting, Greg and Craig told me they were going to nominate me for the Hall of Fame. There are no words to describe those feelings except to say I was blessed to have such a sound career under their leadership and direction. Knowing they felt I was worthy of such a nomination, let alone being selected, is a dream come true. It is the greatest achievement of my 30-plus year officiating career. My officiating career began in North Carolina in 1976 while attending Winston-Salem State University. Like most college students, I needed a part-time job. I saw an ad in the Winston-Salem Journal for baseball and softball umpires. At that first meeting, the stage was set for me to become a sports official. That group of men welcomed me and began teaching me how to become an official. My first obstacle to overcome was being a female in a male-dominated profession. The words of wisdom, "You're an actor playing a role, so leave your gender in the car once you put on your uniform." Those words were very valuable as I progressed throughout my officiating career. I continued to officiate 4 sports: baseball, softball, basketball, and volleyball. I was fortunate to accomplish many goals in that 16 years, officiating state tournaments in all 4 sports. Most importantly, I became the first female to officiate a boys' varsity basketball game and baseball finals. Moving to Huntsville in 1992, my officiating career continued to progress. My partner, Mo Price, introduced me to numerous officials within the area, and I was once again welcomed with open arms. My first baseball game in Huntsville was an American Legion game featuring Al Rawls, who had just won the baseball state high school championship. I walked onto the field with Mo as my partner. At the plate meeting, Coach Rawls eyeballed me, looked at Mo and said, "Can she call?" Mo said, "I guess you'll see." In his unique fashion, Coach Rawls took off his hat and gave me his lineup card. The game progressed without a hitch as I was in the rocking chair, both pitchers throwing strikes. Game ended and Coach Rawls' team won. Walking off the field, Coach Rawls approached me, shook my hand and said, "You can call my game anytime." At the time, I did not know who he really was or the respect he demanded, but throughout the years, he became a mentor of the game, and I learned many lessons from him. One of my most special memories was at Hartsville High School versus Bibb County, my first state baseball championship. In between games, our crew was in a locker room with Craig Cleveland. During conversations, Craig tried to get me to say something about Greg Brewer. For one of the few times in my life, I kept my mouth shut, only to see Greg come out from behind a door. One of the first aspects of officiating is that we are family, brothers and sisters on and off the field. For years, there were no other females, especially on the baseball field, but my brothers taught me well. As other female officials came along, it was my turn to teach them the intricacies of being a female in a male-dominated sport, as my brothers had taught me. From the first time I set foot on the ball field, I've enjoyed every opportunity to officiate, to share the playing field with young athletes, and to become a better role model for all. As an educator, I was constantly involved with young people, and officiating was just another way to continue to teach and grow. I see both as careers that taught me so many things: respect, dignity, pride, and to become a better person. From the classroom to the ball field or court, it was just another challenge to be the best that I could be. I wouldn't change one thing in either career except that they lasted longer, as I miss being on the field and in the classroom. Throughout my career, there have been several people who have helped me along the way. The first was Doug Fagan, my first mentor. Doug saw my passion and took me with him to many games. We had rule and situations throughout the ride, which broadened my knowledge base. In fact, he was my basketball partner when I called my first varsity boys basketball game. We walked volleyball and softball state championships together in North Carolina. Doug is my oldest and dearest friend of 47 years. In 1993, I married Mo Price, and we celebrated our 30th anniversary in June. We met working Babe Ruth baseball, and he was instrumental in my move to Alabama. He has been my support throughout the years, traveling with me to numerous state and national tournaments. I was honored to work 2 Babe Ruth national tournaments, Clifton Park, New York, and Pine Bluff, Arkansas. He accompanied me to 3 baseball, 3 softball, and 3 volleyball state championships in Alabama. He is my partner in life, and I love him dearly. In summation, officiating sports was one of the best decisions in my life, and it has given me so many opportunities, allowed me to meet so many wonderful people. My career included high school and college sports, both unique and challenging in their own ways. Would I go back and change anything? Never. Not one thing, good, bad, or ugly, as all were teachable moments and life-changing in many aspects. To my brothers and sisters, my mentors, and my Mo, thank you all for your support and encouragement throughout my career. I love you all.
I would like to thank the board and those responsible for my nomination and acceptance into this Hall of Fame. I'm truly humbled and honored to be included with the other members of this esteemed group, many of whom I have worked with and looked to for guidance over the years. I certainly did not envision 40 years ago where officiating would take me or how it would affect my life. A casual invite from a friend, Joe Griggs, to join him in officiating set me on a path that has literally carried me all over this country and overseas as well. Those early years with the Northeast Alabama Officials Association introduced me to friends like Bill Cole, who has officiated for the past 40 years in North Alabama and still texts me after most every game I officiate. My brother-in-law, Ronnie Jones, and I traveled this path together for several years and had fond memories of places like Ider and North Sand Mountain, and would remind each other before kickoff in the Swamp, Death Valley, or other SEC stadium how far we had come. There are many people that have encouraged me and contributed to my career. My first college assignment came with the College Football Officials Association, headed up by SEC and ACC officials that worked independent schools like Troy State and Jacksonville State at the time. Bill Goss gave me the first call to work at Troy. Bill was the referee and I was the rookie line judge. Well, during the game, the crew got confused on the number of downs, and I disagreed with the linesman on the down. Well, the linesman had more experience than the rookie, so Bill went with him, and turned out we missed the down. Even though I disagreed and had the correct down, Coach Blakeney blamed the rookie. So after several years working these independent games, Troy and Jacksonville joined the Southland Conference, and they needed some officials from Alabama. Jim Blackwood called and asked me to join the Southland Conference. Jim was a great teacher and supervisor, and he put me with a great referee, Paul Martin. What a great league the Southland was. Some of the most interesting venues from Nacogdoches to Natchitoches and Thibodaux to Troy. If you're ever in Huntsville, Texas, you need to try the Holy Smoke Barbecue at the New Zion Missionary Baptist Church. After 3 years with the Southland, I got the call from Bobby Gaston inviting me to join the SEC. Bobby was a great mentor and challenged me to improve every year. That first year, he assigned me to work with another great referee, Rogers Reddy. Rogers was instrumental in my development that first year and went on to be the supervisor when Bobby retired. I've been fortunate to work with a lot of great officials. When you join arms and walk into one of those great SEC venues, you develop a bond that lasts forever. This is what makes officiating so special. One of my close friends is a member of this hall, Steve Shaw. When I first started in the SEC, I was a bit jealous of those on Steve's crew. They got the best games and seemed to always be on a roll. Then I was fortunate to get assigned to Steve's crew and realized it was more than the schedule and the games. It was the relationship that he encouraged. Steve and I have worked a lot of games together, including the Fiesta, Orange, and Rose Bowl. And then he messed it up and became my boss. Well, there have been so many others that have influenced me over the years. Ronnie Baines, another member of this hall, has coached many officials, and he is obviously good at it. Just look what his boys have accomplished. Ronnie introduced me to the Indoor League and NFL, which definitely made me a better official and allowed me to experience people and places that only a few get to. Ronnie introduced me to the Indoor League and NFL, which definitely made me a better official and allowed me to experience people and places that only a few get to. To all the crewmates that I have shared the field, I am grateful. I believe most of us would agree this camaraderie is special and unique. Jay Vines, Chris Conley, Mark Curls, Gus Morris, and Bobby Abels are a few that stand out in my past. These guys are the salt of the earth, some a little saltier than others. They are some of my dearest friends. I've been on my current crew longer than any other and have had the privilege to work with referee Matt Leffler for over 10 years. Matt reluctantly provided me with my only referee opportunity in the SEC when he tore a calf muscle at Texas A&M. Well, I was the designated alternate referee. We had fun that night chasing Johnny Manziel around Kyle Field. Some thought I needed an interpreter for my announcements. Others on the crew include Jesse Dupree, Stan Y., Jason MacArthur, Nick Terrio, Tom Femin, and Antonio Smith. Each week, Matt assigns one of us to provide a devotion during the pregame. My most special memories with this crew are these devotions. We laugh and we cry with each other as we share some of our most personal and deepest thoughts from the bottom of our hearts. It's a special bond for sure. Officiating is so much more than what goes on the field. Well, in conclusion, I want to thank my family. They've been supportive and tolerant to allow me to travel this officiating path. I don't take for granted any of the sacrifices that have been made on their part. I tried over the years to be available for most everything they were involved in, but along the way, I know I missed a few. My family is special to me, and my wife is my biggest fan and supporter. My children have both grown into successful adults and have blessed Amanda and I with 4 beautiful grandchildren. To my wife, Amanda, daughter Hannah and husband David, son Jake and wife Annie, and to those beautiful grandkids, Corbin, Sadie, Colton, and Christian. Grandy says thank you, and I love you.